We have 72 hours to avoid collapse. Josh Harris isn't in Philadelphia just for the WNBA. There's speculation that his sports empire hides secret funds to keep our lethal weapon. But is it too late if we don't learn from the mistake? That took a star in 2021? This is not your grandfather's Commanders. Move now for McLaurin or Dallas Philly will bury us. You choose. Do you want to know how Harris links his master plan with Terry's extension? Or do you prefer another decade of darkness repeating old mistakes? Spoiler, there's a reason WA. Only this channel has the hidden contracts Adam Peters negotiated last night. Subscribe before midnight or lose access. Like in Stay or Cry in August. Look, when we think about everything Josh Harris has done since buying this franchise, we always focus on the Commanders. But now the owner is expanding his sports empire in a way few expected, and this has massive implications for us. Harris has just been announced as the leader of the group that will bring a WNBA team to Philadelphia by the year 2030. But let me explain why this is much bigger than it seems on the surface. And do you know why this is interesting for U.S. Commanders fans? Because it shows the kind of business vision our owner has. He isn't standing still. He's thinking big. He's building a sports empire spanning multiple cities and multiple sports. Let's analyze the numbers. Harris already controls the Philadelphia 76ers, valued at approximately $0.15 billion. He bought the Washington Commanders for $6.5 billion, the most expensive sale in NFL history. And now he's adding a WNBA franchise that, according to industry experts, will likely cost between $50 to $75 million. I'm telling you this, when you have an owner willing to invest in the growth of professional women's sports, it tells me he isn't afraid of big investments. And if he's not afraid to bet on the WNBA in Philadelphia, do you think he'll skimp on resources when it comes to keeping our star players here in Washington? But here's the really smart thing about all of this. Harris is diversifying geographically. Philadelphia for the 76ers and WNBA, Washington, D.C. for the Commanders. He's creating a sports corridor on the East Coast that gives him incredible political and economic influence. Remember when Daniel Snyder was the owner? That guy was more worried about his yachts and controversies than building something lasting. Harris, on the other hand, is building a sports legacy that will last generations. And let's talk about experience. Harris already has experience with the 76ers, so he knows how to manage professional basketball franchises. He knows how to navigate collective bargaining negotiations, knows how to build world-class facilities, and more importantly, knows how to attract superstars. But here's what's really smart. He's diversifying his sports portfolio. Commanders in the NFL, 76ers in the NBA, and now a WNBA team in Philadelphia. That's burgundy and gold business acumen, baby. But can you imagine when his Philadelphia WNBA team plays against the Washington Mystics? He'll be the only owner in American professional sports history supporting rival teams in the same league. You're crazy if you think that won't generate drama. And here's something very few are discussing. This WNBA expansion includes not just Philadelphia, but also Cleveland in 2028 and Detroit in 2029. Harris is positioning himself in a market that's going to explode in the coming years. The WNBA is growing at an incredible speed, especially after the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. This tells me our owner not only has money, he has vision, and that vision translates into resources for the Commanders. When Harris wants to bring an elite free agent to Washington, he will be able to offer not just money but also the experience of being part of a diversified sports empire. I believe this will also help with the new stadium, an owner expanding in multiple markets and multiple sports will have much more leverage when negotiating with local governments for infrastructure. If that surprises you, wait until you hear this. After years of suffering with questionable draft decisions, we must talk about one that still hurts and represents everything wrong with the previous administration. In 2021, with the 82nd pick in the draft, Our team took Diami Brown when Amon-Ra St. Brown was right there, waiting to be picked. But let's go deeper into this because the full story is much more complex than most people understand. Do you remember that time? Ron Rivera was the coach, Martin Mayhew was the GM, and we were desperate to find a receiver who could complement Terry McLaurin. The organization thought Brown had the athleticism to stretch defenses and create those explosive plays we needed. Let's analyze the draft profiles of both players. Diami Brown, North Carolina, 6 foot 1 inch, 189 pounds for the yard, dash, 4.45 seconds vertical jump, 37.5 inches college, stats, 1,099 yards, 8 touchdowns in 2020. Amon-Ra St. Brown, USC, 5 foot 11 inches, 197 pounds for the yard, dash, 4.65 seconds vertical jump, 34 inches college, stats, 478 yards, 7 touchdowns in 2020 COVID-shortened season. On paper, can you see why they chose Brown? Taller, faster, more impressive college numbers. But I'm telling you this, athleticism without technique is like having a Ferrari without gas. Rivera's administration fell in love with the measurables. Brown had that vertical separation speed they thought could complement McLaurin, who at the time was functioning more as a short and intermediate route receiver. But here's where we made the mistake. We didn't properly evaluate the intangibles. St. Brown had something Brown didn't: elite football IQ and an absolutely fierce competitor mentality. Meanwhile, Amon-Ra St. Brown went to Detroit with the 112 pick, 30 picks after we took Brown. And what has he done? Over 3,500 receiving yards, multiple Pro Bowls, and became the emotional and statistical engine of the Lions' offense. Let's compare their professional numbers. Diami Brown, 3 seasons with Commanders, 29 receptions, FOUR, 176 yards, TWO, touchdowns, SIXT, 0.4 yards per reception, primarily special. Teams player Amon-Ra St. Brown, 3 seasons with Lions, 253 receptions, THRE 1,588 yards, TWNTYT downs, FOUR, TE in 0.2 yards per reception, 2-time Pro Bowl undisputed offensive leader, TH difference. I is massive. St. Brown is not only better statistically, he is exactly the type of leader this organization needed. The Lions found gold in the 4th round, while we ended up with fool's gold in the 3rd. And do you know what's most frustrating about all this? St. Brown is not only better statistically, he is exactly the type of leader this organization needed. When you watch the Lions play, St. Brown is the one motivating everyone, making crucial 3rd down plays, elevating Jared Goff's level of play. Believe this mistake shows a pattern we've seen too many times in the past. We fall in love with athletic potential and overlook fundamentally solid technique. St. Brown had elite roots and sure hands since college, but we went for the taller and faster guy. But let's go deeper. Why did St. Brown fall to the 4th round? Some scouts thought he wasn't fast enough to be an NFL WR1. Others questioned whether his physique could handle the league's punishment. How wrong they were! What those scouts didn't see is that St. Brown had something that can't be measured at the combine: an unyielding mentality and route technique that was superior to most of the receivers drafted before him. Do you think Adam Peters would have made the same mistake? Because now I ask you, how many more Amon-Ra St. Browns did we let pass by chasing the next Randy Moss that never materializes? Peters has a reputation for finding value in the middle and late rounds of the draft. His experience with the 4.9 Ers taught him that technique and mentality often trump pure athleticism. I hope we've learned the lesson. And here's another angle very few are discussing: the impact this had on the development of our quarterbacks during those years. Imagine if Taylor Heinicke, Carson Wentz, or Sam Howell had St. Brown as a reliable target in addition to McLaurin. How many more games would we have won? How would it have changed our program's trajectory? But that's nothing compared to what's coming. Commanders fans, this is crucial. Terry McLaurin needs a contract extension right now, And if it doesn't happen, we could be seeing the end of our contention window before it really opens. But let's dig into all aspects of this situation because there is much more at stake than most people understand. McLaurin is one of only 4 receivers in the entire NFL who has managed over 1,000 receiving yards in each of the last 5 seasons. Do you know who the other 3 are? Davante Adams, Mike Evans, and Justin Jefferson. That's elite company. Let's break down his season-by-season numbers. 2020, 1,118 yards. FOUR touchdowns with Kyle Allen, Alex Smith. 2021, 1,053 yards. 5 touchdowns with Taylor Heinicke, Ryan Fitzpatrick. 2022, 1,191 yards. 5 touchdowns with Carson Wentz, Taylor Heinicke. 2023, 1,023 yards. FOUR touchdowns with Sam Howell. 2024, 1,096 yards. 13 touchdowns with Jaden Daniels. Look at that consistency. Despite having a quarterback rotation that looked like a reality show casting, McLaurin kept producing at an elite level year after year. When we think about everything we've suffered as Commanders fans, McLaurin has been the constant. He's been productive with Kyle Allen, with Taylor Heinicke, with Carson Wentz, with Sam Howell, and now with Jaden Daniels. The guy is a production machine, no matter who's throwing the ball. But here's the real worry. McLaurin can start holding out from training camp in 3 weeks if he doesn't sign a new extension before July 22. Can you imagine losing our number 1 receiver just when Jaden Daniels is entering his 2nd season? Let's analyze his current contract situation. He signed a 3-year, $71.5 million extension. In 2020, his cap hit for 2025 is $22.4 million. He has $28.2 million in guarantees remaining. His contract expires after the 2025 season. Why does he need an extension now? Because the receiver market has exploded since he signed his deal. Let's look at some recent contracts. Tyreek Hill, FOUR years, $120 million, $30 million year. Davante Adams, 5 years, $140 million, $28 million year. Stefon Diggs, FOUR years, $104 million, $26 million year. DK Metcalf, THREE years, $72 million, $24 million year. AJ Brown, THREE years, $57 million, $19 million year. McLaurin is making approximately $23.5 million per year, which puts him in the range of the top 10 highest paid receivers. But given his consistent production and the market's rise, he probably deserves to be in the $26 to $28 million per year range. I'm telling you this after that playoff performance where he had 14 catches for 227 yards and 3 touchdowns. McLaurin demonstrated that he isn't just a great regular season receiver. He's an elite performer in the moments that matter most. Let's break down those playoff numbers. Wild card versus Tampa Bay. FOUR catches, 89 yards, 1 touchdown. Divisional versus Detroit. 5 catches, 73 yards, 1 TOUCHDOWN NFC Championship versus Philadelphia. 5 catches, 65 yards, 1 touchdown in all 3 playoff games. McLaurin was consistently Jaden Daniels' most reliable target. His ability to create separation against elite coverages was the difference in multiple scoring drives. And do you know why Peters and Quinn cannot afford to lose McLaurin? Because we finally have a real contention window. Daniels opened that window wide with his rookie season. But windows can close as quickly as they open in this league. Let's analyze our cap space situation. We have approximately $47 million in cap space for 2025. Need to re-sign McLaurin. Priority #1 closing parenthesis. We also need to consider extensions for Jaden Daniels, eligible in 2026, and key players like Jonathan Allen and Darren Payne have contracts expiring soon. If we lose McLaurin, we lose not just production, we lose leadership. We lose Jaden Daniels' confidence, and we lose credibility as an organization that knows how to retain its stars. Do you think we can afford another mistake after what happened with Amon-Ra St. Brown? But here's something few are considering: the impact on Daniels' development. McLaurin isn't just a receiver. He's Daniels' root mentor, his security blanket. The reason Daniels can have so much confidence as a rookie. Look at these target share numbers. McLaurin received 144 targets in 2024, 31.8% of total. His completion percentage when targeted, 76.4% quarterback rating when throwing to him, 118.7. Those are absolute elite numbers. I believe this extension is more important than any free agency move we make next year. McLaurin is our number one receiver, period. And if we don't extend him, we're sending the wrong message to the entire league about our priorities. Moreover, consider the competitive context. The NFC East is stronger than ever. The Eagles have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. The Cowboys have C.D. Lamb. The Giants just drafted Malik Neighbors. If we lose McLaurin, with what weapons will Daniels compete? And here's the timing aspect. If we wait until after the 2025 season to extend McLaurin, we'll be competing against the open market. Other teams will be able to offer him contracts. And believe me, there are teams with more cap space than we do that would be willing to pay a premium for a receiver of his caliber. The reality is this: we need to close this deal before July 22 to avoid any drama in training camp. A McLaurin holdout will be disastrous for team chemistry and especially for Daniels' continuous development. Let's recap what we've analyzed. Harris building a sports empire benefiting the Commanders, past mistakes we can't repeat, and a critical extension defining our immediate future. Josh, Harris is proving to be the type of owner this franchise needed for decades. His expansion into the WNBA isn't just a business move. It's a declaration that he's committed to the long-term growth of professional sports. And that mentality translates into resources and stability for the Commanders. The mistake with Amon-Ra St. Brown teaches us a valuable lesson about how to evaluate talent. We can't keep chasing measurables and ignoring intangibles. Adam Peters seems to understand this, and let's hope he applies those lessons in future drafts. But McLaurin's situation is immediate. This isn't a decision we can postpone. It's an investment in our present and future. It's a statement that we are serious about taking advantage of the window Jaden Daniels has given us. Do you think Josh Harris will use his business mentality to ensure McLaurin stays? Or will we repeat past mistakes and let another star slip away? And what do you think about that 2021 draft mistake? Was it just bad luck, or does it reflect deeper problems in our evaluation process that we hope we've corrected? I guarantee you we'll have more explosive news about this team tomorrow, because this contention window isn't going to keep open by itself. And you can't miss what's coming. Like if you think McLaurin deserves to be the highest paid receiver in the NFC East. Subscribe if you think Peters will close this deal before July 22. And let me know in the comments, would you have preferred to have Amon-Ra St. Brown instead of Dyami Brown these last 3 years? Because at the end of the day, we're a family here on this channel. A family that lives and breathes burgundy and gold, that suffers with losses and celebrates each victory as if it were the last. If you feel that same passion, if you want to stay up to date with every move this organization makes, then you need to be part of this community. Subscribe now. Because together we're going to follow every step of this journey to the Super Bowl. And remember, hail to the Redskins.